Making a life worth living and a retirement worth having is literally something that I talk a lot about. It's openly something that I'm trying to do for myself after many moments of loss. In my lifetime, I've lost an important life partner, I've lost the next person who was supposed to love, and I literally lost a soulmate who was helping me to heal from it all. People don't quite understand the importance of the soul today is not true, but they don't often talk about it in literal terms. They use more generic terms, they use more politically correct terms, and we don't talk enough about the soul of the individual. We really need to look at how are we helping people to produce a life worth living and a retirement worth having, regardless of what they do for a living. You see, everyone in the world has to make a living, whether they're as famous as Oprah or whether they're as humble as a janitor. It doesn't really matter. The truth is that every single position in the world matters. But the people that matter a lot to us today are the people who handle our food. And openly, those people must be trusted with our food. There's a lot of people who would do just about anything to take over someone's life, I suppose, but that may not be true either. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, and that's the important part of looking at life as an analytical person. You see, we do have predators in America. We literally cannot always tell who they are, and that's a challenge. If we had a way to really understand who a person was based on what they said, then that would be called something instinctual. But openly, we're looking for how do we make a life worth living and a retirement worth having without someone literally taking away our opportunities. Opportunities in today's world are had basically through technology. For the men, women, and children who don't have technological access, they are really struggling to make ends meet. For those who do but have to go to a library, then they're struggling with the privacy fact that libraries don't really protect our privacy anymore. There used to literally be a law that said a person could go to a library and look up anything. That is no longer the case amongst many librarians because they are actually monitoring what we do and where we look and what we say. They're keeping track of our prints because those eDocs machines, or that's at least the little name that I know for them, actually have a memory. So they can print off and hold memory of our documents. What happens to those documents that we print? Do they immediately erase after we printed them? Or do they sit there overnight? Do they get cataloged by local police departments? And what happens to that information? It's really important today because we often go to a library to make a photocopy of legal documents or of bank records or of things we need for our life to make copies for the people in which we're having professional and personal meetings with. Today we really need to look at privacy a great deal. We need to understand where our rights are and where others' rights end. Gossip is a killer of people's privacy, and that's something that the Bible talks about a great deal. But not every one of us reads the Bible, and there are literally other works from around the world that talk about the same thing. Confucius often talked about the perils of gossip and how one has to really reflect on who's the man and what are they saying and why are they saying it and for what purpose. I love his work. Mencius came later, and he had similar inklings. In my life, I've read a lot of different works from a lot of different types of religions. I love that aspect of God, that there's different ways to look at Him and a different way to understand Mother Earth as well. You see, in my life, I've expanded my Christianity to include other religious beliefs, other spirituality techniques, and other ways to talk literally to God. You see, we talk to God by prayer. We talk to God and listen to God through meditation, and a lot of that comes from Catholicism and other Eastern religions around the world. Now, if I sound a little off, that's okay because I'm putting together an audiocast. It's different than a podcast. An audiocast allows a person to talk about things that matter to him or her, or things that he sees going on in the world, or just tell stories about life. It really doesn't matter because it's a one-person show giving a monologue. In a podcast, there's literally usually another person, and I've interviewed a few famous authors, and you can literally go out to my YouTube channel, or better yet, out to my personal business website and look at those interviews. I've also interviewed a medium from Canada, and that was pretty great. She did a wonderful job talking with me about the spirit, and that was good. In my audiocast, Magic and Mayhem, I'm literally talking about a lot of things. Faith, family, fitness, finance, fun, philanthropy, basically the 6 to 7 P's of a balanced life. And that's what we're doing here today. We're literally talking about how do we create a balanced life so that when we are old and gray, we'll have the people in our lives that we love, the finances to support our life, and literally the spiritual health to make life transition to the next stage of life, which is in heaven with Lord God. For those of you who don't have a belief in faith, let me show you some energy. Come, talk to me, let's have lunch together, let's break bread together, and I'll literally show you the energy of God. If you think that's impossible, You're not really thinking about how magic works. If you're not really believing me, that's okay too, but I can prove it to you. I've literally lived now for